On today's show, report cards for Ryan Johansen and Juuso Parssinen season. 2 seasons similar stat-wise, but in context of the team, very different outlooks about their futures with the Nashville Predators. We'll talk about it today on the Locked On Predators podcast.
Your Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to today's edition of the Locked On Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We appreciate you making us your first listen of the day. And as always, shout out to all of you loyal Locked On Pred heads, trademark pending, who join us every single day. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer at Penalty Box Radio, and I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer and editor at InsideThePreds.com.
Also want to mention today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Ann, more report cards to get to today. We're going to be talking about Ryan Johansen and Juuso Parssinen, two guys I'm sure we can have an interesting conversation with.
Yes.
Before we get there, though, Ann, how about a Cody Glass shout-out?
Let's look. You know I'm here every day, all the time for Cody Glass shout-outs. Come on, Cody Glass.
Yeah, hat trick yesterday in Canada's first game of the World Championships. Good debut for him. We wanted to see him on the big stage, see how he does, and more importantly, see maybe if he can develop sort of that main guy touch over the offseason as well, because the Preds are going to be needing to rely on him a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better start to the World Championships.
Well, it was a great little kickoff, a great little warm up for him. So you know what? Let's see what happens when they jump into this. I think this is a great opportunity for Cody Glass. Of course, you know, the mom in me is like, did he get enough downtime? Does he have some time to himself? But look, Cody Glass
He's got the summer.
I know he does. And the summer is something that's going to be very busy for a lot of Predators, including two we're going to talk about today. But yeah, Cody Glass just moving right from Nashville, putting on that Team Canada jersey and off and running. So let's hear it for Cody Glass.
Yeah, a gold medal is going to look a lot better when it's glinting off of the sun in Bora Bora in a couple of weeks.
That's true.
With him and whatever other weird floral shirts the rest of the Nashville Predators decide to buy this offseason.
Yes, we remember that whole fashion episode.
Yeah, I do remember we had a week without games.
There were some
we needed to fill content. I do remember that.
Yeah. They keep it lively, these Predators in their closets. They keep it lively.
They do. I don't think we're going to have to stretch for content today, Ann, because we have off-season report cards, and we start with a guy I'm sure you and I have a lot of things to say about, Ryan Johansen. Oh boy, Ann. Let's start with one word to describe his season.
Okay, so my one word is vanilla in context. Let me explain this. So I'm talking about the flavoring that you use in baking. So vanilla, it smells amazing. I don't know. Have you ever baked and used vanilla?
No, I know what you're talking about. Okay. I was trying to go back to in context of baking. What other?
In context of, well, you know how people are like boring. Something is boring and it's vanilla.
All right.
That is not Ryan Johansen.
That makes more sense. I'm like, what other context are you using vanilla in?
No. I'm talking like, you know, slang for Ryan Johansen is boring, which is false on a number of levels. But I'm talking about baking. And vanilla is something, it smells amazing when you use it in a recipe. It definitely adds a little something. Now, you can still eat something that you baked if you accidentally forgot the vanilla. Ask me how I know. You can still, it still will be fine. But it's just not quite the same. And to me, that is a little bit Ryan Johansen for me. Like, I don't know how he smells, so I'm not going to like make that comparison. I don't know if he smells as good as the Fonz or not.
Yeah, he's not Henry Winkler.
He's not Henry Winkler, y'all. Ain't nobody Henry Winkler. But I think he makes everything a little bit better. My fear is, and the thing that I think the Nashville Predators are going to have to wrestle with is this team palatable if you forget the vanilla? And I think that's a whole discussion that we're going to have around Ryan Johansen. And I'm not a big fan of it, but I think that that's what's real.
It seems like you're kind of going a different way than this, because my one word is reboot.
Okay.
And what I'm thinking of is, like reboot those old TV series that you see on TV. Like, Full House is on when you're a kid and you're like, oh my God, I love Full House. This is fantastic. Or I don't know, pick like any other show that ended and now is either come back with a new cast or like the same, like the old cast just reunited. And, you get super excited. You're like, oh, this is going to be great. Like all of these people are back together. And then you watch it and you're like, there's something missing here. Like this doesn't it's good to see everybody out there and, good to see all the cast back, but it feels like there's like the show itself, the magic is missing a little bit. There's something missing from like when I absolutely love this.
Really?
And that to me is Ryan Johansen, because, when we think about Ryan Johansen as a Nashville Predator, we think about, his stint on the Jofa line and, having one of the best statistical seasons of a Nashville Predator. And we think about him during the playoffs and just absolutely, trolling Ryan Kessler. It's like, you loser, no one likes you, right? Still an all-time best soundbite.
Yes.
And, obviously a few years back, he had that rough stretch. A lot of people were getting on Ryan Johansen. And then last year, he winds up with the second best season point-wise, arguably maybe one of his best seasons in a Preds uniform. He has that last year, overshadowed by a lot of different players having some of their career best seasons. But you look at it and go like, all right, like Ryan Johansen's back. Like he's coming back. Like we're getting like the rebooted version of like 2016, 2017 Ryan Johansen. This is going to be awesome. And then you get to this year and it's the magic's missing. Like it's missing something that made Ryan Johansen just one of the peak Nashville Predators, such a dangerous player all over the ice. And something was missing this year, and it showed up in his stat line because, you look at it last year, 63 points, including 26 goals. This year, 12 goals, 16 assists, 28 points in 55 games. That's not what you want from a guy who's supposed to be one of your top two centers.
Yeah. As we're doing these report cards, one of the things that I'm struggling with is looking at these players, individually kind of in a vacuum, because a lot of the things that we're saying about Ryan Johansen and a lot of the thoughts that I have about Ryan Johansen are thoughts that I have about players like Matt Duchene, and some other players. And so as we've gone through some of these, I'm really trying to put together what is happening in a vacuum with each individual player and what is some sort of Nashville Predators problem. You know what I'm saying?
Because you said you're looking at this in a vacuum. When we're talking about this, is the problem that what's happening isn't in a vacuum?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's hard when you're trying to judge like Ryan Johansen's season and grade him as an individual, because I think that there are definitely some very specific individual things that we can talk about, but also how much of his season is affected by what's going on with these other players. And why can't I put my finger on what that bigger picture thing is? That the Predators have wrestled with for a couple of seasons now.
They rise and fall as a team, at least in terms of stats. Last year, everybody has a career year. The year before, it seemed like everyone had a career worse year. And then now this year, it just seems like everybody's gone down again. I mean, if you're that reliant on your teammates, you need some new blood to go in there and be like, you know what, screw it. Like, I'm going to go out and put this team on my back and have a good season. And obviously, the level of play goes up across the board. You start bringing better players in, the good players on your roster, their stats are going to go up. Like, that's
for sure.
That's fine. I think maybe the problem is that the Predators don't really have anybody in their team that just elevates everybody they play with. Maybe the exception of Roman Josi.
True.
But
yeah. And this was a thing that you had brought up with Matt Duchene and as I'm looking at Ryan Johansen and kind of digging into his career stats and last season and this season, it's the same question. Is this a player who is better with better teammates, or is this a player who makes his line mates better? And where are those guys? Where are those guys for Nashville? You have to have some guys who you put two players on a line with them, and those line mates are going to get better.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've got a lot of the other guys who, hey, you put me with some good line mates and I'm going to do well. But where's that? Yeah. And that was something I wrestled with looking at Ryan Johansen.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Ryan Johansen moving forward because 2 years left on this contract. We have already talked on the show about Barry Trotz's comments about his future. So where does Ryan Johansen fit in, and what can we expect from him, assuming he stays a Nashville Predator? Maybe what his role can be, maybe if there's a new role for him. That's coming up in just a second. But first, want to mention today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. If you watch the Stanley Cup playoffs or you listen to our talk about Nashville Predators not elevating teammates, you sometimes know that bringing in the right people can really elevate a team. The same is true for business, and that's why you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. That way, instead of spending hours on multiple job sites searching for candidates with the right skills, Indeed is the powerful hiring platform that helps you do it all. They streamline hiring with powerful tools that help you find matched candidates. And with Instant Match, over 80% of employers get quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. Even better, Indeed's the only job site where you only pay for applications that meet your must-have requirements. It's an unbelievable, powerful hiring platform, delivering 4 times more hires than all of the other job sites combined. That's according to Talent Nest 2019. So join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/lockedon. That offer is only good for a limited time. Again, claim your $75 credit at Indeed.com/lockedon. One more time, Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. All right, and let's talk about Ryan Johansen. Some things that went well, some things that didn't well, and maybe the context of where we see him moving forward. Because let's dive into some things that we liked about Ryan Johansen this year, because I think then we see there's still some value in there. For instance, very good 200-foot player. Very good active stick. I think underrated forechecking. Very good face-off guy. This is a guy that does a lot of kind of the micro things very, very well.
Yeah, I agree with you. One of the things that really jumps out to me about Ryan Johansen's game you mentioned is face-offs. And again, that's kind of one of those micro skills that you talk about. You know, you don't go around necessarily drafting a guy because he's great at face-offs, but what a huge benefit. Ryan Johansen is better percentage-wise in face-offs than Connor McDavid, Austin Matthews, and Sidney Crosby this season. Not better than Jonathan Taves, Patrice Bergeron, or Jamie Benn, but still, this is somebody who is highly skilled that the Nashville Predators have in something like face-offs. I also think he is fantastic on offense in the slot where he's doing tip-ins, he's doing deflections, he is creating traffic, he is causing a little bit of chaos. Ryan Johansen knows the slot is not lava. Hallelujah and amen.
Yeah. Ryan Johansen, to me, is one of those guys where he's maybe not going to be the guy anymore. Like, I think if you're building this Nashville Predators team, and, you know, I think they maybe figured that out when they went out and got Matt Duchene. But you look at Ryan Johansen and, you know, you look and it's like, okay, I don't think he's going to be like a #1 scoring center anymore. I don't think maybe he's going to be that secondary guy anymore. But how can we use him moving
Yes.
forward? And that's where some of the things that you're really good at go in. Because, you know, if you're Ryan Johansen or John Hines or Barry Trotz or whoever is going to be in charge of kind of putting this team together, or at least painting a picture of maybe where the best players go where, Ryan Johansen is a guy, and the Preds said this themselves, you know, they felt that when Ryan Johansen started getting like less top 6 minutes and maybe more middle 6 minutes, his game started to elevate, and they thought he was being used more effectively. So, you know, you plug Ryan Johansen there on that third line. Not only is that a good fit for him, but all of a sudden, you know, we talked about, and John Hines maybe needs to throw away the identity of these certain lines and just figure out the best place to play your best players. All of a sudden, you have a different dimension to that third line. You know, a little more pizzazz, a little less fire, but a little more pizzazz.
Yeah. And look, depth scoring is something the Nashville Predators are going to need. They struggled to score goals this season. UC Saros, thank goodness, did a good job not letting goals in. And that's how the Nashville Predators won a lot of games. How many games did the Preds win by 1 goal, score 2-1? You know, there was a slew of them. So when you look at Ryan Johansen and you look at like, hey, maybe he's not your top center, your top line center anymore. But if he is, you know, a middle 6 guy, you're giving your middle 6 some punch, some offensive punch. And the Predators need that going forward.
Yeah. And absolutely. And that's going to be up to John Hines. It's like, look, are you willing to kind of change what your identity is? Because like I said, and that takes us, I think, back to maybe what the main topic of conversation is surrounding Ryan Johansen, is just what's his future on the team and where does he fit moving forward? Because I think the key for John Hines, or again, whoever's coaching next year, the key, I think, is going to be, you know, you can't do what you did this year. It's like, we need these 2 lines to do this and this line to do this, and you need this line to this. You need to take a step back, and it's like, who are guys that are the most ready to play right now? Who's got the most upside, and how can we use all of them in a way that is going to help us win games? That needs to be the focus. And if you're doing that, then Ryan Johansen, I still think, is a good fit for the Nashville Predators. Because, like I said, we talked about, you know, somebody like Colton Sissons anchoring that 4th line. Ryan Johansen maybe is a guy that can anchor that 3rd line.
Yes.
And maybe all of a sudden, now you don't have to worry about random call-ups or anybody like that and figuring out who goes where. Now you have, you know, a couple of guys back there that are more fit to their identity. And in the case of Ryan Johansen, you know, it's not like playing alongside Colton Sissons. You can maybe, you know, let's say Tommy Novak doesn't make the top 6 for whatever reason, or Luke Evangelista is on the team but doesn't make the top 6 for whatever reason. You have a better fit for them now. If Ryan Johansen is on that 3rd line, you know, rather than, oh, this person has to play with Colton Sissons or this person has to play with Michael McCarron, you all of a sudden have somebody who's maybe more in depth in bringing out the offensive traits that those guys bring to the table without necessarily having to worry about, like, okay, if they're not with Duchesne or if they're not with Forsberg or whoever, then we're afraid that they're just going to get wasted. So we might as well sit them or send them to Milwaukee.
Yeah. And with the direction that the team is going, you're probably going to look at some players in that 3rd line, 4th line, who are going to need somebody who elevates their game, who gives them that extra experience that they're going to need on ice play. And that's Ryan Johansen. What are some things that you feel like didn't go particularly well for Ryan Johansen that you want to see differently?
I mean, Barry Trotz kind of said it. Speed.
Yeah.
You know, he's definitely lost a step, and I think that's what takes us to the conversation of maybe him moving down in the lineup a little bit and, you know, being more in a spot that plays to his strengths, you know, and just the scoring touch not there. Not necessarily just the scoring touch, but the playmaking not quite there. And I know he missed a lot of time this year. And I know his shooting percentage last year was really, really high last year.
Yeah.
And maybe that was unsustainable to think he would score 26 goals while shooting 22%. But, you know, the thing that made Ryan Johansen so endearing in Nashville was his playmaking. I mean, he had 50 assists just a handful of seasons ago and only 16 this year. So, you know, you want him to be more going back to setting up plays for other people and maybe elevate, you know, whoever's with him.
Yes, whoever's with him. So we know Ryan Johansen was injured, was cut by a skate blade. Got to talk to him about that in the locker room clean out press conference and stuff. But also Ryan Johansen talked about what it was like seeing these younger players come up through and what does that mean sort of for him moving forward. So I just want to listen to this clip and talk about it for just a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of disappointing things, but we have a lot of belief. We're really proud of our group and what we've built here, and it's going to be kind of one of those off seasons where there's no time to sit back. We're going to keep that sour taste in our mouth and make sure we're back here playing and setting ourselves up to play for the cup. And we have a lot of competition with this group. We've got a lot of young kids now who prove they can play, and then we got a lot of older guys like myself that are going to say, "Hold on, it's not your time yet." Or you're going to take it and take my job. So we're going to have that fun competition within a good team where we're constantly pushing each other to be the best we can be. It's a big summer for me. I'm be my 13th year next year, and I got a pretty serious injury that I need to be working very hard on to get that as best as it possibly can be, and then, you know, now it's about just proving to my teammates and management coaches that I'm still a guy that can have a huge role in this team and help this team win. So that's what's fun. I take it as a fun challenge, and that's just what we do, and I'm looking really forward to it.
First off, can we talk about the fact that Ryan Johansen looks like he has fully become like a Broadway music artist, like a Nashville Broadway?
Yes.
Like he's got like the black hoodie, the like camo colored shirt, like the glasses on top,
the hair.
Yeah, like it looks like you're gonna see him out like on a fishing boat in Lake Cumberland here, or Percy Priest Lake or somewhere like that. While wearing like an American flag, like cut sleeveless shirt.
Yeah, and, or like the American flag, like swim trunks kind of thing.
Yeah, and like a Bud Light koozie or something like that. Describing everybody I went to high school with. Yeah, I mean, you like to hear Ryan Johansen kind of have the right attitude about it. I think he's somebody, you know, contrary to what you may think on Twitter, people, I don't think Ryan Johansen's a dumb player.
Nope.
I think he's very smart. I think he's a very heady player. And I think he's somebody who's just very smart in general and very maybe aware of what the situation is in Nashville and maybe being honest about his own game. You know, injuries derailed him last season. Maybe he comes back stronger than ever. Maybe he spends an entire off season really working on the rehab and getting into it. Maybe, you know, maybe we're having a different conversation in a couple months, and like maybe he steps up and it's like, you know what? No, screw that. I am a top 6 guy.
Yeah. And here's what I will say as I listened to Ryan Johansen talk, and just having watched him for so many seasons, Ryan Johansen is a guy I would not ever bet against. Yeah. I would not ever bet against this guy because he is going to come in, whether he wins ice time or wins a spot from these younger players or not. I don't know that, but I do believe Ryan Johansen is going to make everybody around him work for it. And this is a guy I just wouldn't bet against. I would not bet against Ryan Johansen, friends.
Unless it was this season.
Unless it was this season.
Unless it was this season. Another player to talk about, Anne, is Juuso Parssinen. I think you and I are both excited to break down this guy's game and this guy's season debut.
Yes. Can't wait to talk about this guy. First, though, want to let you know this episode's brought to you by our great friends at Game Time. Look, buying tickets to your very favorite events should not be stressful. I don't think we need to revisit the whole T-Swift debacle from another ticketing site. And
it worked out.
It did eventually work out, but there was angst, friends. And if you want tickets without the angst. And if you're somebody like me who is more of a last minute planner, you need to check out our friends at Game Time. With killer deals on last minute tickets, and they have a best price guarantee, you can stop stressing out over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have when you use the Game Time app. With the Game Time app, it's super easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. You could check out sports, comedy, theater, music, concerts. I was on the app this morning just seeing what's going on tonight. They have tickets to tonight's Nashville SC game with images of seat views and prices that are covered by their Game Time guarantee, which means you will always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. You can buy your tickets in just a matter of seconds. It's 2 clicks. You're all set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you don't have to log in and root through your email to get a hold of the information you need. So you can snag the tickets you want without the stress at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. So download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
All right, Ann. We went from Ryan Johansen, somebody with a certain or an uncertain future. Let's talk to a guy with a bit of a rosier outlook in Nashville, and that's Juuso Parssinen. This is a guy I think a lot of Nashville Predators fans loved. We know our friend Eric Dene really loves this guy, was talking about him before he was drafted, when not even a lot of people had them on the draft board. Makes a debut this year, winds up with 6 goals, 19 assists, 25 points in 45 games played, including 8 points on the power play.
Yes.
And one word to describe Juuso Parssinen's debut Nashville Predators season.
Okay, my one word for Juuso Parssinen is bloom. Juuso Parssinen, my friends, is just that little rosebud on the rose bush that's just slowly opening up, and just you can't wait for it all to unfold because you know it's going to be amazing. This is a young player. I was at development camp a couple seasons ago, and I remember messaging Eric, and I'm like, Eric, this Juuso Parssinen guy that you talk all about, oh my gosh. Yeah. Now, why I didn't know to just agree with what Eric said, of course. But this is somebody who he's such an interesting player to me. I think he's a very fascinating person just in general. He tickles me. But I think this is somebody that Nashville Predators fans got enough of a taste of before his injury that this is somebody that's going to generate a lot of excitement through this whole reset, rebuild, whatever we want to call this. Juuso Parssinen, love this kid. Love this kid.
Yeah. My one word is appetizer. And I mean that in kind of 2 different levels, because one, I think what we saw from him this season is just the appetizer on what he can be. 25 points in 45 games. That's pretty good rate for a depth scorer. That's almost about, 45, 50 points a year on an 82 game scale.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's got, the upside to be like an 80-point guy per se, but I think he's going to grow. And that's why I think this season was just the appetizer for his career. And then when I mean maybe appetizer on a team level, I think he's at good, like, first course. Like, maybe he's not the guy you build your team around, like not the centerpiece of the offense, not, like the Grand Poobah, like not the guy whose jerseys are selling out everywhere across the NHL. But he is a guy that seems like he could be a foundational piece on a really good team, assuming he keeps developing. Very good 200-foot skills for a guy who's, I can't do math, 20 years old?
Yeah, he's a youngin'.
20, 21?
We'll
figure that out later. But like very good. I think the best way to describe it is he kind of plays older than he is.
Yes.
He plays with a lot of veteran instincts of guys that have been in this league, 5, 6, 7 years, and he's just getting his first taste of NHL action this year. So I think that was kind of the biggest thing. And yeah, Juuso Parssinen, not sure what his ceiling is. Maybe this is something we'll have to chat with Eric Dene when he comes back. But, even if he's not like the main guy, he is still a guy that the Nashville Predators would love to kind of have in their back pocket as they're building this team.
What do you think went well for him this season? What jumped out to you about his game when we got to see him in Nashville?
Well, like I said, like his 200-foot game. I mean, he spent a lot of time on the penalty kill. That's a lot of trust to put in a guy who's whatever age he decided he was.
Young.
Yeah, for a young guy playing his first minutes, he played in the power play as well. He's just, very smart, another one of those guys where you don't see him make a lot of mistakes. The very few mistakes he did make this season, it stood out as something. It's like, okay, it's not like, a hockey 101 error. It was him trying to like do too much. Or, trust himself a little too much. Not like the other way of you can't make that play or that was dumb or what were you saying there? You just got beat. It's very much as a like, okay, you saw what he was trying to do. You just either couldn't do it or shouldn't have done it at that particular time.
Yeah.
So I think like the instincts are there. I think the 200-foot game is there. Maybe the scoring touch, maybe that's the next thing to work on.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about Juuso Parssinen is this is a young man who is such a hard worker. He is such a hard worker. When he was called up by the Nashville Predators, he was asked about, are you hoping to get big minutes? What is kind of your expectation? And he was very clear. He said, whatever I get, I'm going to do my best. And I think that's very Juuso Parssinen. This is somebody who, when he is on the ice, he is going to give you his best. I think there's some maturity to his game too, in the sense that when he made some of those mistakes that you're talking about in these games, kind of those young player mistakes, in that same game, you would see him go off the ice and come back on, and he's done with that and he's back to where he is. Like, he's very good at being where his skates are. And I think that there's a maturity in that is going to be helpful for him through this development process. I also think this is a boy who is a man. He is man size.
Yes.
He is strong. He is
6'3", 212. And as you like to say, he's going to have some more meat in his bones here a little bit.
Yes. He is able to play with, men in the league. He's able to manage, that strength and size and speed of the NHL. So of course there are definitely things I think he needs to grow in. And one of the things that I think is going to benefit him the most is just ice time. I think Juuso Parssinen just needs more ice time. And hopefully that will help with some consistency, because I feel like we saw some. And I know this is a thing we talk about with almost every report card is, you've got consistency issues where, he would have 3 or 4 games where you're like nailing it. And then he would go through a kind of a longer stretch. So, but I like this young man. I like what he brings to the Predators, and I'm excited to see what happens with him next.
Yeah, that's the next step. Although, of course, it's more forgivable for a guy to be inconsistent when you're in your first year, as opposed to like somebody like Matt Duchene, Philip Forsberg, all those good people.
Fact.
Yeah, so very happy it seems with Juuso Parssinen's first season. I gave my thoughts on where maybe I thought I see him moving forward. And what do you think maybe is the ceiling for Juuso Parssinen?
This is so hard to say with any of these new young players, because I think that we've gotten to see him through 40-some games. So we've gotten a good look at him. I think it's difficult, though, to say, okay, what is repeatable, what is not with any of these new guys. But I do think that Parssinen, I'm with you. I think this is somebody who is not probably going to be your premier player, but he's going to be somebody who other teams know further down the roster, who is going to be somebody that they're going to have to pay attention to. He is somebody who's going to impact games. This is not a placeholder. He's not a placeholder player. I think he's bringing value to this team. My question for you as we're wrapping these two players up, Johansen and Juuso Parssinen, will both of them start and be on the Nashville Predators roster at the beginning of next season? Yes, or what do you think?
Yes.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Parssinen has earned his spot on the team. And I think the only reason Johansen's not on the team is if there's a trade.
Yeah.
And I'm not quite sure a trade gets done this summer.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think barring a trade, I think Ryan Johansen is going to surprise some people. And I agree with you. I think Juuso Parssinen, not just in his on-ice performance, but I think in his work ethic, I think he's going to earn him a spot.
Yeah. We will hope so.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Tomorrow, and all about the goalies. Let's talk about UC Saros and Kevin Lankinen's season. I believe we also have the impending Vezina announcement, so perfect timing.
Come on.
Oh, he's not going to get nominated.
Oh, we are going to riot.
Off.
Y'all just tune in. It's going to be us with pitchforks.
Yes. And where can people find your work?
You can find my work online at InsideThePreds.com. You can find me on Twitter at ANK_Mama on Ice.
You can find me at Penalty Box Radio or follow me on Twitter at _NS Morgan. To all of you listening, thanks for making us your first listen of the day. A reminder that Locked On Predators is your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, available on all major podcast platforms on YouTube. So just search Locked On Predators on whichever platform you use and hit that subscribe button. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter at LO_Predators to stay in the loop and chat with us during the offseason. We will see you guys for an all-new episode tomorrow.